right. Hello again. Welcome back. I get to say welcome many times today. It's my favorite word. Hello, people outside. You're gonna come inside? It's warm and cozy here. Or is it cold? Somebody told me actually that it was quite cold. We said it's just so that you don't fall asleep. Anyways, you saw a short animation by Maria Guðjónsson, an amazing 3D artist who is working with Lavazza, who's also doing the visuals out there. And I don't know if you've tried, but there's a QR code on the paper cups. Maybe you have some of them here. There's a QR code, and if you scan it, you will see the piece that she has created. And she's also opening an exhibition in town during the festival. So it's her interpretation of the theme, the source, where she's following the coffee bean through the process until it becomes our coffee. Okay, we got a totally amazing afternoon coming. 2 sessions. First, we have The Power of Time, subtitled The Intergenerational Journey to the Source. We'll see what that means in just a short while. We have Arnhildur Pálmadóttir, architect, and Emanuele Coccia, philosopher. And then we have Niceaunties, who is an AI artist and designer. She's not here, but she produced something very special for us. And Ari Eldjárn. Woohoo! Yeah, you can say it again. Yes, okay. Good to know you're here. So you see, from 1 to 3, and then we have what we call a power break, okay? And after the power break, we got more exciting stuff for you before we go to the design drinks later on. Are you ready? Woo! Woo! Let's do this.
Arnhildur Pálmadóttir, architect. A versatile specialist with an entrepreneurial attitude, Arnhildur Pálmadóttir has a passion for inspiring change in architecture and the construction of buildings. Founder of s.ap Architects and head of the Icelandic branch of Lendager, the Danish architectural firm, Arnhildur is the recipient of the Nordic Council's Environmental Award 2024 and will be Iceland's first representative at the 19th International Architecture Exhibition, La Biennale di Venezia, this year.
Hæ, gaman að sjá ykkur, fallegt útsýni hérna, hefur fríða hóp. So, nice to see you all. I'm going to talk about our project Lavaforming, which I presented first at the DesignTalks in 2022. And now we're fortunate to be Iceland's first contribution, as mentioned, to the Venice Biennale of Architecture that opens in the beginning of May. So we're in the middle of the storm. We have therefore been developing the project in the last months, preparing it for the exhibition. And today I'm going to give you some insights into the project, the ideology behind it, and some behind-the-scenes clips. The project is not only about lava, but rather about ideology and different perspectives on how our systems work and how we could change them. We need system changes in the world we live in today, and an era defined by material overuse, pollution, and overconsumption. In the project, we examine systems related to construction, architecture, and city building, and we approach these systems from an architect's perspective. It's crucial that we start addressing the challenges we face today in a creative way and engage in a democratic debate about possible solutions and the next steps. Right now, the conversation is overly influenced by stakeholders and politicians who primarily want to preserve the status quo or advocate for infinite growth. This is one of the key challenges that drives the lavaforming idea. Growth has always been a central approach, and when we fail to meet our climate goals, we simply raise the goals even higher and expect to resolve the issue in the future with future technologies that are unproven but have already become lucrative investment opportunities, strangely. A widely discussed solution is to address the problem through energy transition. In the book More and More, An All-Consuming History of Energy, Jean-Baptiste Fressos explains that one energy source has never fully replaced another. Rather, it has been added on top of the older methods, and material consumption has always increased. So more wood was used when coal became an energy source, and we're now consuming more fossil fuels than ever, even as we adopt electrification, wind, and solar energy. Currently, 80% of the global energy mix still comes from fossil fuels. Wood energy is twice as large as nuclear energy, and we never used more raw materials, and many of them are becoming scarce. The current approach suggests decarbonized economy can continue to grow. However, we cannot innovate or invest our way out of the energy and material crisis if innovation is only used for the profit of companies rather than the benefit of society. This issue should be where and for what we are emitting CO2. Vital emissions or not, for necessity, luxury, or abundance. In the Lavaforming project, we harness the energy from the material itself when it comes up from the ground with tremendous force and temperatures at 1400 on Celsius. This is not an addition to the current energy system, but rather a demonstration of nature's intelligence, and it will not run out until the planet itself ceases to exist. Lavaforming explores the connection between the technology, science, and material development in the context of climate change. Iceland is not abundant in building materials, and if we are to build with local resources, minerals might be the best option. When we look at the lava that surrounds us now in Iceland, we can see how it flows and follows the landscape. Hot lava melts older lava, creating new landscapes, ravines, and hills. While it remains hot and fluid, lava presents many possibilities for molding and shaping that humans have not yet explored. Instead, we have crushed cooled lava and used energy-intensive methods to produce cement, which is then used to bind the material together again as concrete. With Lavaforming, we aim to bypass the polluting progress. In the project, we use scientific lava flow models to analyze the design and implementation of buildings and urban spaces by channeling the lava flows, shaping them, and allowing them to cool into structures. We also conduct research on the material itself, drawing from studies by scientists in various fields who have examined the properties of lava as it cools under controlled conditions. The goal of this research is to investigate how basalt can function as a monomaterial in construction and architecture, and how entire structures can be created exclusively from molten lava by channeling, casting, or even 3D printing with it. Another focus point of the project is to demonstrate that it's possible to turn a local threat into an opportunity. It's not just in Iceland that people are threatened by natural forces that affect our way of living. This happens worldwide, where people experience earthquakes, floods, and extreme weather connected to climate change. We need to build on the local knowledge and resilience of people. That is why we chose to present the project partly through people's stories, one in which the people of the future describe events and developments over 100 years of lavaforming. We also draw on stories from ancient societies, exploring how they were organized and the relationship and coexistence among people. Volcanic activity, that had harmed Icelanders since settlement began, was transformed into geothermal energy, flowing through pipelines into towns and cities, a project that started in the 1920s. The transformation allowed us to grow food and swim in heated pools during the winter. In this sense, we are currently living in the sci-fi stories of the 1900s. Lavaforming, a sci-fi project today, immerses visitors in our future vision, where a local threat is transformed into a resource that addresses a global emergency. We have diverted and shaped lava before. We have used seawater in the Westman Islands, excavation and now protective walls in Reykjavík. Similar efforts have been made elsewhere, such as at Etna in Italy. In Iceland today, we're on an alert as lava flow is close to infrastructure and towns. Now is the time to look to the future and approach it with design thinking, not just reacting, because we are in the era of continued fires and the planet is reaching its limits, so we need to act. Globally, we need to build differently and respond to changing conditions. The buildings we construct have to withstand hurricanes, rising sea levels, and increasing temperatures. In recent years, we have built as we were living all in the same place on the planet. But now it's time to change those systems. We need to build resilient structures that can withstand these extreme conditions. The stories and ideas are local, but connected to a global problem. How can we prepare to harness extreme heat, strong winds, and other conditions that are now becoming the norm? This means the ideology behind lavaforming is not just local. It can apply it in other parts of the world in ways that don't necessarily involve lava. In our view, architecture can be the force through which we begin to reimagine what the future can be. So how are we going to present and visualize lavaforming at the Architecture Biennale in Venice? We will present the project as a multimedia exhibition represented through digital and physical renderings. The layout of the pavilion mirrors the overall narrative path following the life cycle of lavaforming from eruption to cooled, inhabitable architecture. And to do so, we will use animated film, material tests, scientific simulations, and stories of people. We have teamed up with multidisciplinary collaborators, designers, scientists, and specialists. And we all work on visualizing this new world of lavaforming. Here we have the core team, and we will get some introduction from a few of them later. Part of the project and the exhibition involves material testing. We do it off-site because on-site is too dangerous. This means remelting lava instead of using it hot and pouring it into molds to examine the different material properties of the lava as it cools in a controlled way. The goal is to investigate how basalt can function as a monomaterial in construction and how entire structures could be created exclusively from lava. Lava can possess the properties of most of the construction materials we use today if we control how it cools. It's even possible to utilize its iron content and other metals. Our tests have been done in collaboration with LavaShow, who are experts in melting lava, actually. Some examples from our test will be showcased in the pavilion. In our animated short film, we will tell a story placed in 2150. We have harnessed the lava flow, just as we did with geothermal energy 200 years ago earlier. And we want to show that architecture can rethink and shape a new future, more sustainable, with innovation and creative thinking, as mentioned. Lava flow, it can contain enough building material for the foundations of an entire city to rise in a matter of weeks without harmful mining and non-renewable energy generation. To get to know a little bit more about this, here are a few words from Arnar, who is animating the film.
Hi, my name is Arnhildur, and I'm the co-creator of Lavaforming. For this project, I'm working on an animated short film that shows our vision for the future of Iceland. I believe that speculative visions for the future can reach the most people through film. It's a way to immerse people in your ideas on an emotional level. Architecture needs visions for the future that are rooted in different politics. Making an animated film with a really small team is difficult because you spend a lot of time making things that will ultimately only be on screen for a few seconds. But we're also working on an array of animations, simulations, and diagrams that will be displayed in the exhibition. This wall of screens will give people a more scientific and in-depth look at our ideas and the experiments we're doing right now. It will also give some of the objects from the film more space to shine.
As Arna mentioned, we will showcase design based on scientific work that will be exhibited in multiple screens. One example of this is a lava flow analysis. We work with lava flow prediction models currently used in Iceland to prepare for and protect against lava flows near infrastructures. We connect those with our design of the future city and propose different scenarios along with the design and 3D visualization. We will now hear a few words from Jack, who together with the team is working on flow simulation and is also creating the soundtrack for the film.
Hi, my name is Jack Armitage, and I'm a researcher and musician, mainly working on two aspects of the Lavaforming project, the film soundtrack and scientific simulations of lava flow. For the soundtrack composition process, we're striving for a unique sound that is grounded in the volcanology of Reykjavík. To achieve this, I'm collaborating with Francesco Fabris and Ben Frost to train AI audio models on their field recordings of the Fagradalsfjall eruptions. Once trained, these models become interactive instruments that reproduce lava soundscapes and textures, but can also be influenced and directed to create music, similar to how Lavaforming proposes to conduct and compose with lava itself. One of the main questions asked by Lavaforming is if it's possible to redefine what volcanic eruptions mean for the built environment. And while we can't answer that in reality yet, we can use simulation just like volcanologists do to imagine more concretely. Using the same models as Veðurstofa Íslands, we can estimate how lava would interact with our proposed trenches and channels to realize material production processes. We think it's important for Lavaforming to utilize contemporary scientific methods, as it allows us to engage with scientists in their language and speculate with them about future methods that might make Lavaforming possible.
Yeah, so storytelling is a big part of visualizing new future, and in the project we tell stories of a new world through these voices of people in 2150. There we get description of the environment and stories of people's lives throughout the Lavaforming period. First, we will hear a fragment from one of the stories that will be somehow part of the exhibition, but has also been an inspiration in the movie. And then we hear a few words from writer Andri Snær Magnason.
This was during the first years of Lavaforming. They called our team Eldjötnar, the fire giants, based on tales in the Edda, the race of giants that belonged to the world of fire. We were a very tough gang, most of us actually female scientists, but we became a bit crazy. Maybe it was all the fire, the danger. But it was like when we were taming this fire beast, it was like the chaos was embedded in us. Yes, we trashed the bar, but we saved the suburb and laid the foundations for a whole city. Now, when I am in my 90s, I regret nothing. I was not the one that danced naked with the sledgehammer. Sometimes I wish it was me.
My name is Andri Snær Magnason. I'm a writer, and I enter the Lavaforming team with thoughts, with emotions, with stories, because we understand the world through stories. So I am imagining, and we are imagining, this 100 years of this city, Eldborg, which is created out of Lavaforming, the pioneering years, the memories of the people, the lives, the development, the kind of transformation, and how the city changes and evolves, the architectural styles, the period of volcanic brutalism that becomes something else. So basically joining the team on many levels, storytelling, imagining, and just as a general team member.
Yeah, so Lavaforming is the next step in technology, the next step in the geothermal era, where not only water or steam is harnessed, but the benefits of heat and molten material, something until this day has required immense energy. So this is a project proposing that the next step in industry and production can be in greater harmony with the stories that, or the forces that Earth already provides. Hopefully a global inspiration, molten lava and all its varieties has the potential to be a transformative material. It's all embedded in the magma, and we hope to show you much more in Venice. Thank you, and hope to see you all there.
Emanuele Coccia, philosopher. A philosopher and associate professor, Emanuele Coccia is also an esteemed author and a frequent collaborator with designers, artists, and cultural institutions globally. These include Triennale di Milano, design duo Forma Fantasma, the Cartier Foundation, and creative director Alessandro Michele. His work explores the materiality of our contemporary world, our place in it, and our relationship with it, contributing to an important dialogue on contemporary aesthetics and design.
Thank you for being here. I'm always happy when I have to do with architects, designers, artisans, craft doers, because you are spending your entire life in a way trying to fight with or against matter, with all the elements. You are fighting or dancing with them, and what is at stake, this is what is important, why it's so important what you're doing. You are teaching us that in a way, what is at stake in this body-to-body relationship with matter is this spark of freedom that makes our life more beautiful. So what I wanted to try to understand with you is what is this, what we call matter, and why it is only just in this body-to-body relationship with all those elements, with wood, with aluminum, with all those elements that we can find freedom. And so the old Talmudist said that whenever you have a difficult question, the best way to get an answer is to tell a story. So I will try today to tell you a couple of stories. And the first one is a story that took place in September 1953 in Chicago. There is a young student in chemistry, Stanley Miller, who finally got the courage to ask his professor, Harold Urey, who just won the Nobel Prize, to carry out experiments about the beginning of life, the chemical beginning of life. As you probably know, at that time there was a couple of books which tried to prove that life originated from matter, from inorganic matter. And actually, the two scientists managed to do an experience where they put some water, methane, ammonia, and hydrogen in a sterile 5-liter glass flask. And then, I'm not describing the experience, but they managed to create out of this inorganic matter some basic elements of life. Now, why this experience is so important? Because they proved that normal matter, inorganic matter, is able to produce life. And why is it interesting to take a chance of reflecting on this fact? Because it shows that, first of all, there is a sort of carnal continuity between all things in the world. So we are not a separate class of objects that follows different kind of laws from the rest of the things that people the world. We are all made out of one single entity, which is the matter. And secondly, more importantly, because life, it's in a way a sort of self-design of the matter itself. It's what we call matter is this huge designer, is this huge artist who is chiseling all the time itself in order to produce what we call living beings. And this is, of course, giving us a totally different, how can I say, gaze on the world. It's like as if we were always walking on a huge open-air museum where this huge artist or designer is trying to improve every single second what he already did. And in a way, if you think about that, there is also something where we can understand that we are in the same position that matter has with itself, and we are also chiseling ourselves in order to improve ourselves. And this attitude, this position, is what we usually call birth. Now, as you know, birth is actually the most universal phenomenon in the world. Every single living being has to be born in order to exist. It sounds like actually a tautology, but it's not. Because if you think about that, what is birth? By the way, birth is also the original concept for the term nature. Nature in Latin is coming from the word to be born, which means that natural or nature is the collection of entities which have to be born in order to exist. Why it's not the same to exist and to be born? Because what does it mean to be born? It means that actually, in order to be there, you had to take some already living piece of flesh. Sorry for the vulgarity of but you had to borrow some pieces of the body of your mother and your father, and you couldn't just start to live on virgin matter. You had to, in a way, inherit this already living body, which is quite interesting because it means that, first of all, you are giving to this life that you inherited a second chance. So in a way, you are already recycling something which was already there. Your second-hand bodies, in a way, which is, and not just second-hand. In the case of human beings, it's interesting because you are obliged to put together bodies that probably didn't fit together. I mean, in my case, I had to put together the body of my mother, the body of my father, who hate each other, and now it's like, it's really difficult, I can tell you. So it's, I mean, beyond that, what is interesting is the fact that because of that, because of the birth, your body is hosting a life which is much older than you. I mean, I give you my example because I don't want to offend anybody, but I'm 48, but the life which is in me already existed when I was born because I just took the life of my mother, and the life of my mother was, I think my mother was around 30, so I'm not 48, my body's 48, the life which is there is at least 78, but since my mother is not Eve, so it's not the first woman, so she was also born, so the life was already older, and so on. You can come to the very first woman, but also the very first woman was not just there. She was born by another species, so that means that because of birth, the life you are welcoming in your body is actually already alive since the very first moment that life came on the earth. It's amazing. So we are all young, but also extremely old. And because of life, because of birth, there is this carnal continuity of life since the very beginning up to you. And you are only this kind of very strange attempt of life, of matter, to give itself a different form, generation after generation. So in a way, we could say that each of us is in the same relationship that a butterfly is to the caterpillar, which actually which it changed. So you know that normally insects, they pass through this amazing transformation called metamorphosis. They pass through this transformation actually because of the fact that they do not have bones. They have just a very hard skin. And of course, if you have a skin which is like the skin of a car, every time that you are growing, you have to destroy the skin and build it again, to take a little bit fatter and then build again the skin. There are some insects, as you know, that they exploit this occasion in order to transform their body. And they pass from caterpillar to be a caterpillar to be a butterfly. Why is this phenomenon in general interesting? Because it's like you have two different bodies, two different ways of life, two different environments, but one single self. So a caterpillar is actually a guy who is considering nature just as a huge McDonald's, is eating all the time, and you're just spending time eating, and is growing actually on the earth, whereby a butterfly is kind of a very strange form of life, which is just thinking about sex all the time. So caterpillar and butterfly, they have nothing to do from a moral point of view, and still they are the same single self. They are living in different environments, and still they are the same single self. So that's why metamorphosis is important, because in a way that obliges you to think that actually you can never consider life as reduced to a single identity in moral terms, in like spatial terms, in anatomical terms. So life is not your face, life is not your ethos, life is not your place. Life is what allows you to pass from one phase to another phase, from one space to another space, from one set of values to another set of values. This is life, and this is what actually we are obliged to be because of birth, actually. Because in a way, metamorphosis is not just a relationship that all of us have with themselves because of the fact that we are born. So we are the butterfly of the caterpillars of our parents, but also each species, because of metamorphosis, has this relationship to the previous species. Each species is the butterfly of the caterpillar, which is the previous species. And sometimes this metamorphosis takes place in the world, in nature, even without producing a new generation. As you know, there is in nature sex without reproduction. So there is a metamorphosis without producing a third individual. The first time that it was discovered was in the 30s of the last century. They discovered that some paramecia, so the unicellular microorganisms, they have sex without producing children. What does it mean? It means that they come together, two of them, and they're starting to exchange genes. It's very beautiful process. If it would only possible among humans, it would be like you go to a party, you start to kiss someone, and hope you give to this someone your hair, and you took the nose of this someone, or you give your feet, and you took their hands. So it's this kind of, you have sex, and you change totally your identity without having to give this burden of changing the identity to your son or to your daughter. So it's amazing. But it's also saying us, in a way, this story that sex is this technique of metamorphosis, which in a way gives us the glimpse of the fact that every kind of metamorphosis is also linked to a sort of pleasure. So if we're coming back to this idea of the carnal continuity that we find in ourselves up to the origin of life, so we are like the kind of foam of this huge amount of pleasure taken by a lot of different species, different individuals that have created ourselves, that they have given to life the form you are embodying. And it's kind of amazing to understand that we are the inheritors of these huge pleasures, and we have to, in a way, allow to this pleasure to keep being alive. Another story that I wanted to tell you, it's the fact that this kind of, I'm describing like the matter as a huge designer who is changing its form generation after generation. And it's not a metaphor, it's not just something superficial, it's really the reality of what we call evolution. Actually, as you probably know, or everybody's studying that at school, Charles Darwin, the famous biologist, published in 1859 a book about evolution that was called The Original Species, was one of the first bestsellers in the market. And the theory of this book was the idea that you have in nature a huge production of spontaneous variation, and then there is a force which lies outside of the animals, of the living beings, which is selecting this variety, filtering it, and in a way preferring what Darwin called the fittest elements to the environment. So after 12 years of the publication, actually Darwin realized that this theory is not fit enough, actually is not able to explain a lot of phenomena, evolution by human beings, of course, but also by birds. And that's why he published the second book, 12 years after, which is called The Descent of Man and Selection in Relation to Sex. In this text is giving another theory, which is actually easy to understand if you think of a peacock. What is a peacock, and why the peacock is so important to change your idea of evolution? Because a peacock, if you're, the males of the peacock have a huge tail, which is there just an advertising poster in order to say to the people, have sex with me, please. But this tail is impeding, in a way, to the male to be fit in the environment, in the sense that it's impeding to him to fly, it's impeding to him to escape, and so on. So this was already a first objection to Darwin's theory. Evolution is not producing exclusively fit elements, it's also going against the survival of animals, which it's important to know, because we are always considering that we are the only ones who make a huge amount of mistakes in nature. No, a lot of people doing mistakes in nature, because life is linked to the fact that you don't know if something is good or bad to do for you. You know this just once you did it. So afterwards, that's why it's always a mess. There is a very beautiful principle written by a very interesting artist whose name is Mark Dion, who wrote some notes about artists who are doing art for about nature, about ecology, and he wrote once, nature never knows what is its best. Actually, it's the case. So, to be alive means that you don't know if this encounter with this specific matter will be beautiful or very bad, will be a dream or a nightmare. So that means, and that's why there is evolution in a way. So the first, coming back to the peacocks, so peacocks, they have this very strange organ, but the main point is that actually, if you have to explain from an evolutionary point of view, these patterns, you can no more think that those patterns are they just arose by hazard in nature. You have to explain that someone chose these patterns, chose more and more complex patterns, and chose patterns which were more beautiful than others. Why it's so important? Because it says that evolution is not something that animals are, in a way, receiving in a passing way. Evolution is an agency. So the animals are deciding where to go in the future, and someone is deciding, in this case, the female are deciding where to go, and the female are deciding not on the base on a calculus, not on the base of saying, there is this picture here, that means that I will have more children. Not at all. It's just the idea, oh, it's so beautiful, I want to have sex with this guy. So, but what does it mean? It means that evolution is also driven by aesthetical judgment. So the body, the form of species, is an aesthetical entity, and the evolution is an act of design made by the animals for themselves. So which, in a way, in this case, it's even more interesting because it means that the women are like the curators, and the men are like just performers in front of the woman, and the species itself is this huge, like open-air performance or a huge open-air biennial. So each species is this piece of art. This is important also to change your look on nature. Whenever you are going to the nature, whenever you are entering in a forest, you are in the biggest museum in the world, because every single species there is trying to chisel their best form in order to exist in a good shape. So I have to skip some slides in order to have time, just 5 minutes. So if we are asking now ourselves, what is the relationship that now not an individual to itself and not a species to another species, but what is the relationship that the entire amount of living beings have with the rest of the matter? Why it's in a way that the exact kind of question that now geologists have formulated in order to arrive to get to the concept of Anthropocene. So this question was formulated for the first time by a French guy named Jean-Baptiste Lamarck, who is the scientist who invented the word biology, by the way. He invented also the first term in order to conceive the idea of environment. Because it's not, in a way, if you think about that, the idea of environment is not something like evident. You have to start to think that all the objects that are surrounding you, in a way, they are all part of something which is exercising an influence, a form of power on you, and the other way around. Actually, Lamarck tried to conceptualize this relationship between the living being and the space which is surrounding it in terms of power. So the first name he gave to the environment was milieu, medium, which is actually a concept which comes from the electromagnetic theory. So the idea is that the space is just conveying form, power. And because of the capacity of the space of conveying power, there is a kind of dialectic between the living being and the space around you. So in a way, what this is saying is there is a relationship of design, a reciprocal relationship of design between living being and the environment, where first of all, the environment is chiseling the form of the living being. You probably studied at school this idea that in a way, the body of the animals are shaped by the environment. But the idea of Lamarck is important because he's also asking himself the opposite question. What is the influence that all the living beings are exercising on the earth? This is exactly, as I said, the question that we are asking ourselves when we are speaking about Anthropocene. But the answer, Lamarck, is much more interesting than the contemporary answer because he realized that in a way, every single spot on earth is either the rest of dead living beings. It's like decomposed corpse of animals, plants, fungi, and so on, or it's something that has been shaped by living beings. So it means that in a way, the earth has been produced by the living being. It's not just the space where we are living in. The Earth is an artifact designed by living beings. And so in a way, it's like what Fernando told us today morning. The question is not stopping, intervening, or influencing the Earth, because everybody, every single living being, every species is in a way transforming the environment, designing the environment. The question is how we do design this environment. So just in order to give you a couple of concrete elements of this perpetual activity of designing the Earth by living beings, I tell you just two short stories, and then I leave you. So the first story is that a research that a geologist, an US geologist, made almost 20 years ago. So he asked himself why there are much more minerals on the Earth than on Mars, on Venus. Why there's much more diversity of stones, of identities of types of minerals actually on Earth. The ratio is like, I think, 3-to-1, so it's huge. And the answer that he discovered that it's actually linked to some oxidation process, which means it's the presence of life that diversified the quality of stones. It's amazing. It's like because of the existence of living beings, the flesh of the Earth was totally changed in a better way. So it became more interesting, more diverse, more differentiated. So this is already something amazing. So life, in a way, improved the quality of this planet. A second story that I can tell you is the fact that actually plants are all the time changing the Earth every single moment for two reasons. First of all, as you know, plants are liberating oxygen in the atmosphere, and it's because of the oxygen liberated by plants on the atmosphere, because of the fact that they make the Earth breathable, that we can live. So in a way, it's thanks to plants that we can be here. It's thanks to this kind of climatizing operation, huge, massive factory of climatization of the world, that we can be there and have party like in a couple of hours. But the more interesting and more important process of transformation of plants is that they are the only living beings that are able to catch sunlight, which is the major source of energy on Earth, and so to say, insufflating it into the mineral flesh of the world, and in a way, making it available to other animals under the form of chemical bonds. So it's this energy that we are searching for every time that we are eating. But here comes the important element. Light is extraterrestrial. So it's matter or fluxus, I don't know, you can call it as you want, but it comes from outside of the Earth. So in a way, because of that, so every single form of life, plants included, are half terrestrial and half alien. So you are all ET in a way. And what is interesting also, so the plants are extraterrestrialized. So you are transforming the Earth in something alien. And every time that you are searching for food, you are like searching for this extraterrestrial source of life. It's like the spice in the dunes in the film. So, and the nutrition, so Lina spoke us about why it's important to eat together. So food is this very spiritual actually entity, because food means to share this kind of extraterrestrial life among species. And this food is like this kind of light which is coming from the space, and it's passing from body to body, to species. That's why food is so important. So the last, so that's why we have to, in a way, just those two examples in order to stress the idea that the Earth itself is an artifact, it's a garden, but the living beings are the gardener itself. We have to stop to consider like the earth as something that we have just to respect without touching anything. Everybody there is touching everything and transforming everything. Every landscape is an army of landscape architects. So, and in order to prove that, my last point, to prove you that without this army of gardeners or of designers, not just you, but also like plants, animals, fungi, mushroom, bacteria, that would be a mess to be on Earth. Just let's come back to the form of the Earth. So we all think that the Earth is this kind of sphere. This is the first complete picture of Earth taken on the last Apollo mission in December '72. But it's a very, very, very wrong and stupid image, because it suggests us that the Earth is perfect and that the Earth is kind of naturally destined to host life. Or both ideas are wrong. First of all, the Earth is nothing natural in terms of life. Actually, at the very beginning of its history, I mean, the Earth was a nightmare, just a ball of fire, and it was impossible to live there. It's because the huge activity, designing activity of 1 billion of species, of individuals belonging to 1 billion of species, that every single day they are modifying the environment, that this place become livable, that become actually acceptable for life. So in a way, the Earth is an artifact. And it's, in a way, that's why it's so fragile, because it's more artificial than my smartphone. In a way, my smartphone has been made just by, I don't know, 100, 200 people, but belonging to the same species. So imagine how complicated, also in terms of unions and so on, organization, to make an object made by thousands or millions of species in different epochs of time. So that's why the Earth is so fragile. It's very artificial and very beautiful because it has been made by someone. And the Earth is not perfect at all, actually. This is the real image of the Earth. So it's like taken by calculating the gravity of every single spot on the Earth. And you know, it's like it's ugly as the first kind of work of first-year students of a very bad art school. So I'm not just, I'm not just insulting our planet. I'm saying that just because there is a lot to do for you. So please keep working for all of us. Thank you.
Okay. I'm actually just here to pick up my glasses. I don't have the brains even to like, I don't know. What's in your water?
It's a lot of drugs, actually.
Okay. Okay, amazing. Are you beginning to understand a little bit this intergenerational journey to the source? I'm just asking you instead because, you know, are you?
Say yes, yes, yes.
Yes. Okay, great. I have this one question though. In what way do you think this kind of thinking about these impossible questions, in a way, is useful for this crowd?
First of all, it's also the other way around, that Fernando, Lina, Ferdinando later, Johanna, all the designers and all the architects who are here, it's food for thinking. So we are always thinking that there are philosophers who are like thinking, and then practitioners who are just putting ideas into matters. I mean, today, especially in this epoch, it's the other way around. There are architects, fashion designers, artists, artisans, who are thinking, but they are thinking with their hands. And there are amazing ideas that have to be translated into words. So what I'm doing is almost the other way around, trying to translate what has been done and what is encapsulated in objects, which is good, but sometimes we need to put words on it. I'm just like a little boy who is like baptizing objects. And I think they are thinking much more than philosophers. And that's why, in a way, also what I'm doing is useful for them, because it's like thinking is everywhere. I mean, in our pairs of shoes, or in a jacket, in a building. And we need to let this thinking and those ideas circulate in different space. That's why it's important also in design events to have some moments of like self-reflection of their activity, or of actually about the world in general. So.
Yeah, a little bit like me giving you my hands and taking your feet.
Yeah, exactly, like a parametric exercise. Yeah, exactly. We are all doing that, actually.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.